Joe, tell me about what happened at Fox and Friends.
Well, Susan and I got invited to be on Fox and Friends to talk about the underwear bomber. And Steve Doocy did the interview, and we just sat down and started talking about it. And I didn't think anything of it because I do these interviews all the time about airline security because we did unsafe at any altitude. Then, during the interview, I just commented offhand that Al-Qaeda is still funded by a number of Saudi princes. And Doocy sort of just didn't react. Normally, he would re-engage me if I said something. He didn't. Didn't think anything of it. Then later, after we left, they posted a story about the interview on their website, but I was looking for the video because I always use the video because these websites are voracious and you have to keep feeding them. No video. They didn't run the piece. And the story selectively quoted me. Well, that's Fox. I figured that's just the way it is. Then we discovered, of course, that this prince, who was notorious in the United States because of his activities post 9/11, had actually bought into Fox, into News Corp, Fox's parent company, as the fourth largest shareholder in the company. And everybody's attitude toward Fox had changed. Ed Fox had changed. For example, Bo Dietl, who's his character, who's a private detective, former New York cop, hero cop, is on the Don Imus show all the time. And Dietl rails about the Saudis and their connections to terrorism normally. Now, the Imus show now appears on Fox. Dietl comes on, in fact, this morning he came on, and instead of railing about the Saudis and their connections to terrorism, talked about how a New York cleric, Muslim cleric, had done great things in the recent arrest of the subway bomber in New York. So there seems to be a very different attitude at Fox toward Muslims. When the book came out, we were on the Fox network, and we appeared on Hannity and then Combs, but now the Sean Hannity show, but it was he had a partner. And they would rail against Muslim clerics. There had been some Muslim clerics who had gotten on a plane in Phoenix as a matter of protest and sat in the same seats the 9/11 bombers had sat in, just to protest the way Muslims were being treated at airports, not being allowed to pray, that sort of thing. And I was on the show then, and they had a very anti-Muslim attitude at that point. Now it's a whole different story since they've got the Saudi sheikh who sunk all the money into the company.
And why would News Corp allow him to come into the company when he's allegedly funding terrorism?
Well, it's all about money on Wall Street. And in the case of News Corp, they're short of cash. The people who control it now, the Murdoch family. And John Malone, who owns Comcast and is a very big guy in media, it may make a play on News Corp and try and take it over. And the good prince is News Corp's poison pill.
Poison pill? What do you mean by poison pill?
He'll vote his shares with Rupert Murdoch and with the Murdoch family to protect him from a takeover.
Okay, so he's going to be sort of a silent partner in this? He's just going to be supporting?
This guy is never silent on anything. The prince is a extremely public fellow. He puts out press releases over everything he does. He once had 60 Minutes, shortly after 9/11, in fact, he had 60 Minutes come and see his lavish tent in the desert and visit him, and he leads a high-rolling lifestyle. He's not a shy guy.
And he owns an organization, a programming organization in Saudi Arabia as well?
Oh, he's investing in all kinds of things, but now this gives him influence over the American media in a huge way. The Fox network is the most watched news network in America. But not just the Fox network, DirecTV, it gives him influence over the Fox newspapers, New York Post, all kinds of things.
And I saw in your article that he wasn't going to be subjected to federal regulations like normal programming. Why is that?
Well, that's a good question, but because he's just a shareholder and doesn't actually run the networks, there'd be no reason to. He's just an investor. And
what kind of programming does he have in Saudi Arabia?
The kind that you would expect.
Okay. Let's see. So back to Al-Qaeda, how much money exactly is coming from the prince funding to Al-Qaeda? Do you have any idea?
We don't know that any money is coming specifically from the prince. Here's what we do know.
Okay.
We do know that he's publicly funded charities that have donated to the families of suicide bombers in the past. We also know that after 9/11, he basically defended the Saudi role in 9/11 and in funding these charities that ended up with Al-Qaeda getting money. He's done that. But whether he's had any direct connection to Al-Qaeda, we don't know. and only a federal investigation would bring about that. And since Fox doesn't even register as a foreign agent, yet they have this huge foreign influence, it raises all kinds of questions.
With how much he was criticized after 9/11, why aren't the other networks picking up on Fox, on his investment in Fox?
I suspect because the other networks are a little embarrassed by their own activities. You may remember that we helped the New York Times do a story on Pentagon consultants. And these Pentagon consultants were making money with companies who were profiting in the war. That was NBC, that still uses the same consultants that were exposed in the Times piece. So every network has something kind of embarrassing in its track record. And I suspect that maybe one day they might need some money from the prince.
So you were telling me that the programs on Fox, all of them are treating either Saudi Arabia or the prince or Muslims.
Well, so far it's a much more gentler attitude. I don't see Don Imus's show, which is probably the most independent show on the Fox networks. He's a radio personality. He does the morning show, and I mean would openly make fun of Saudi terrorists, this sort of thing. He's got some sidekicks who are, Bo Dietl is a frequent guest, but he also has a couple of sidekicks who aren't hesitant about making fun of organizations or people like the prince have not. And one of Imus's good friends is Neil Cavuto, the Fox business guy. And Cavuto did a charming interview with the prince, gave him a lot of time, talked about all his business activities, never mentioned the little problem he had with Mayor Giuliani or post 9/11, or the fact that he's helped fund the families of suicide bombers. That never came up. And Fox is really avoiding the issue. But the big media is not picked up on the story in a big way. My column, for some reason, is getting lots of hits because I think people were just sort of surprised to know that Fox would do this. And the more devotees of Fox, the Tea Party people, the people on the right, seem to be rather shocked that Rupert Murdoch would accept a partner like this.
But you're not shocked?
No. Rupert Murdoch is more interested in money than he is in politics, and the Saudis have plenty of money.
Do you have anything else to add about it?
No, it's interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see if there are any more Islamic villains in future episodes of 24.